Hello everyone, this is Remlays from 40k Theories, and welcome to the December 2018 edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As always, if you would like your question answered, then click the link in the video description below and help support the channel by becoming a patron. Now, let's jump into the questions. Felix Argyle asks, bacon and eggs or steak and potato? Bacon and eggs. Can you wish me a happy birthday for December? Yes, happy birthday. Brandon A asks, are there any demons that actually care for humans? Well, demons of Nurgle care for Nurgle's followers, as far as I'm aware. Other demons may pretend to care about others, to manipulate them for their own benefit. Aside from that, maybe, but it's unlikely. Can guard regiments, such as the Death Corps of Krieg, be allowed to have an Imperial Knight join their ranks? Well, Freeblades will fight alongside Imperial Guard regiments as an allied contingent, but if you mean formally joining the regiment, I don't think so, no. But I'll admit Knights are one of my weaker areas of lore. Kanji Gold asks, can an Imperial Loyalist abhuman ascend to living sainthood? I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but I wouldn't necessarily say no. It might be unlikely, but I wouldn't say impossible. Diego Flores asks, I imagine we will hear your thoughts about Primanius Calgar in Adeptus Podcastus, but do you give any credence to a possible Marine civil war, which will likely end in standard Marines being sent on a penitent crusade? Well, I did do a video on the possibility of Primaris Marines effectively being the cause of a chapter civil war, but whether the baseline Marines will be sent on a penitent crusade, that's another matter entirely. I do think that now it's been confirmed that Marines can be upgraded into Primaris, it will cause more tensions which in turn could lead to civil war, so I think it is a distinct possibility. Ulbrich asks, what examples of necromancy, apart from Wraith Guards, in 40k? Well, there's plague zombies, people can be, normal human beings who then just turn into zombies, or they can die and then come back as zombies. But if you're looking at individuals being resurrected, there was John Grammaticus being resurrected by the Cabal, there was Cyrene Valantian being resurrected by Erebus, Vulcan being resurrected by the Emperor. There's the Keys of Hell that the Iron Hands have, which can resurrect the dead and turn them into cyborg revenants. For that last one, check out my video on the resurrection of Ferris Manners. Mark Heafield asks, are there any Space Marine characters you think deserve to become Primaris Marines like Calgar? Pretty much every single Space Marine special character who hasn't had a new model since 2nd edition. So who's that? That's Azazriel, Ragnar, Dante, Mephiston, Corbulo, yeah, all of those guys. Voice of the Emperor asks, who is tougher and who is crazier, Catachan Jungle Fighter or Death Corps of Krieg Guardsmen? Jungle Fighter, tougher, Death Corps, crazier. I mean, let's be honest here, you have to be crazy if the attached commissariat has to force you to retreat. Brent Feast asks, are there any recorded instances as far as you know, of two different craft worlds fighting each other? I think it was actually strongly implied in the Jane Czar novel. If I recall correctly, Eldrad Ulfran suffers a vision that would lead to two craft worlds destroying each other. So it's certainly possible that it can happen, but as for it actually having happened? Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but I'm pretty sure it might have done. If you could have two Primarchs, one Loyalist and one Traitor swap sides during the Horus Heresy, who do you think would be the most interesting? It would certainly be interesting if Lorgar swapped sides during the Heresy, considering he started the whole damn thing. From the Loyalist side, I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to assume for the purpose of this that all 18 are still alive. So I wonder what could happen if Ferris Manners had joined Fulgrim. In fact, that might even be a topic for a future video, who knows, foreshadowing, dun dun dun. If Narina is both a text-to-speech device and a living saint, does that make her the machine goddess? No. And for God's sake, the living saint thing was a joke. It's only that one crazy group of Sisters of Battle that thinks she's a living saint. Bunch of whack jobs. Nat3.Despeles asks, what happens to a Freeblade Knight if the pilot is killed but the knight itself survives? I'm not entirely sure. As I said earlier, knights are my weaker areas of lore. But I think the knight is salvaged by the Mechanicus. Oren Clark asks, Merry Birthmas and Happy New Year. Just wanted to ask if the Chainsaw Warrior is an ancestor to Sly Marbo, or was the Chainsaw Warrior just a time-travelling Sly Marbo, or vice versa? In regards to him being an ancestor to Sly Marbo, there's nothing to either prove nor disprove it, so if you want to make it your headcanon, go for it. As for him being a time-travelling Sly Marbo, while he did end up travelling through time thanks to the Timescape expansion for Talisman, I don't think so, considering that the Chainsaw Warrior has bionics and, as far as I'm aware, Sly Marbo does not. Warrior of Virtue asks, has the Imperium ever attempted to establish diplomatic ties with the Farsight enclaves or vice versa? Not that I'm aware of, no. The Evil Scotsman asks, could any of the Demon Primarchs be redeemed, and if they were, what would the Imperium's reaction be? I think it's extremely unlikely, to be honest with you, unless you get someone like Isha or Iniad to somehow reverse the demonizing of the Demon Primarchs. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not, no. As for the Imperium's reaction, it would most likely be like, hey, so you just came back after fighting against us for 10,000 years. Hey, look, that side of the battlefield's being hit with cyclonic torpedoes. You should go and reinforce that position with yourself. Go on then. I doubt there would be any kind of friendly relations, to be honest with you. Adil Zia asks, the Orcs believe in the truth of war, and it is the only constant to them. What would happen if the Orcs stopped believing in war? Well, the number of Orcish raids against every other race would effectively cease. War itself would not end in the galaxy. War existed before the Orcs even evolved. Look at the War in Heaven, for example. So it's fair to assume it would continue going on after their extinction as well. Zero Hits asks, is there anything currently in the 40k canon that is particularly absurd? The fact that load-bearing walls are heretical, from Death of Antagonists. That's canon, and it's stupid. Heather Gochioso asks, since the Drukhari bred out their Psycho abilities, does this mean they cannot bind themselves into a soul stone? No, there was a story when an incubus travelled to a craft world and ended up becoming an aspect warrior. I think he ended up becoming a striking scorpion. And since aspect warriors have to wear soul stones, I'm pretty sure he was able to bond to one. Which loyalist is the most and least likely to get along with Gilliman when and if they return? Least likely to get along with Gilliman? Either Lion or Russ. Most likely to get along with him? I would actually say Korax. What do we know about the Tau God of the Greater Good? It has 4 limbs, it has human and Tau features, it's benevolent, it saved the 4th Sphere expansion fleet from being stranded in the warp, and that's it. Do you give your Servo Skull treats when it behaves? Yes, he's a very good boy. Darks asks, what is a Baduru? I have no idea. Aside from Tucholcha, are there any instances of time travel in 40k? Yeah, there was the Orc that travelled into the warp and then he came out at a point before he left, so he ended up going and finding his doppelganger, killing him so he could have a copy of his favourite gun. And finally, Austin Horner asks, during Sanguine Allah, do the psychically sensitive members of the Blood Angels and their successor chapters feel anything from the Imperium at large, channeling their thoughts towards Sanguinius? I haven't a clue. To be honest with you, there's so little lore about Sanguine Allah in general. I think most of the lore still comes from that one quote, the little paragraph from the 2nd edition War Gear book. The only other time recently I've seen Sanguine Allah even mentioned was in the Necromunda audio drama The Deserter, because someone offhandedly mentions Sanguine Allah. I mean, it's possible they could feel something, but I honestly don't have a clue. Sorry. And that concludes this edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As always, if you would like your questions answered, then click the link in the video description below and help support the channel by becoming a patron. Until next time, this has been Remlays from 40k Theories. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye bye.